I'm Dr. Scott Fuller. This is my health and wellness workshop. I've been doing this workshop for 25 years in my chiropractic office in Woburn, Massachusetts, and finally it's making it to video. I'm going to tell you a story. This is the story that I tell all of my new patients that come into my office for chiropractic care. But even if you're not a chiropractic patient, and even if you're not interested in being a chiropractic patient, you will get a lot out of this workshop. I promise you that. I'm going to take you on a story of health and wellness, and I'm going to talk about the most important thing in your life. And I believe the most important thing in your life is your physical and emotional health. If you have your physical and emotional health, that means you can do all of the things in your life that you want to do. Whatever your purpose is in your life. You might want to be a successful parent or grandparent, teacher. Maybe you're a student and you want to be successful at that. Maybe you're an athlete and you want to excel. Maybe you have children or grandchildren that you want to make sure that they are of ideal health and they meet their genetic potential. That's what we're going to be talking about as we move forward. But I'm going to start to talk about things that you don't know. You already know when it comes to health and well-being that you need to do certain things if you want this amazing physical body that we have been gifted with. That if you want that physical body to be well, there's certain things that you need to do. You know the nutrition thing. You need to have clean nutrition. Innate nutrition, some of us call it. You know you need the regular exercise thing. You know it's very important to reduce stress and have thinking better situations in your life. You know that you need regular rest on a regular basis, and you know that you need more water and stay away from other fluids and so forth. Okay? You need a purpose in your life. You already know these things, and hopefully you're working on that. I've addressed all of those things in prior shows. The thing you probably don't know, unless you're already a patient of mine or a patient at another chiropractor's office, is that you need a healthy spine and nervous system to make the brain work better, which then makes your body work better. We're going to spend the majority of our time talking about taking care of your spine and how chiropractic plays such an important role in overall health and wellness, not just for pain prevention and pain treatments and so forth. So we're going to focus on that. Health and Wellness Workshop, focusing on your physical and emotional health and what you need to be doing to make changes in your life. As we move forward, you're only given one spine and you have one brain. So moving forward, what we need to understand is because you only have one, you have to take care of the ones that you have. If your brain goes away, it's not a happy day for you. If your spine breaks down, right, that's not a happy day. You can't get a new one. Other things in our life, you can get new things. You can get a new car if it breaks down. You can get a new house. You can get new stuff. But you can't get these new components to your brain and spine. So you need to take care of the ones that you have. Now, spinal issues can start when we're born. So as we're moving through the birth canal and we're tugged and yanked and twisted and forceps or C-sectioned or whatever, that might lead to us getting out of alignment like this. So when do we think spinal care should begin? And there's your answer. It should be considered early on in life, and you'll see why as I move forward. If you have a strong posture means that your spine is in good shape. And if it has good flexibility, that's another thing as well. If you look at old people, they tend to have posture that's often worn and they lost flexibility. One of the concepts that you will understand is a strong posture, which will mean a strong brain, a better functioning brain. And if your brain works better, then all other systems, all other cells also work better. Okay? So I'm going to be concentrating on the spine as you move forward. I like to quote a couple of things from Les Brown. Les Brown is a personal development speaker, and go ahead and catch up with his stuff. Great material. Here's a couple of quotes that really bring us into shape here. Die young at an old age. And that's what we want, right? A great quality of life throughout our life, no matter how long it is, as long as it's of good quality. Another quote, become an asset, not a liability to my children. Isn't that important, right? So you don't want your health to deteriorate if you can avoid it, and most chronic diseases that we're going to talk about are preventable. If you can prevent chronic diseases, you're not going to be a burden to your children and your grandchildren. We're going to talk about the concepts of reducing chronic diseases. Most chronic diseases are preventable, and that's what you want to do in your life, so we're going to focus on prevention. You want a good quality of life, and you want a good long life as best you possibly can. No one knows. I might pass away tomorrow, who knows? Hopefully it's another 50 years, that's my goal. So I'm just about to enter the second half of my life. And I hope it's of good quality, and that's what I'm going to work towards. But something that we don't think about too is, I'm going to talk about how to save you a lot of money. The reason I say a lot of money is the number one reason that anyone goes bankrupt in this country, the United States, the richest, freest country ever to be known in mankind's history, the number one reason that anybody goes bankrupt is because of medical bills. Medical bills. Which means you get a chronic disease, insurance doesn't cover all of it, and for many, many years you're shelling out your own dollars, and then unfortunately you go bankrupt. Most of that, again, can be avoided, and that is our concept. Many people that you're familiar with utilize chiropractic, and I'm going to build a list for you. I'm going to build a list of things we're going to talk about of what chiropractic is good for. So you're going to see as we go through the show, I'm going to give you a list of things that people see clear up when they're under chiropractic care. Okay? Now, remember that chiropractic doesn't directly treat a condition. What we try to do is we improve the spine and the nervous system so the body can heal itself better and more efficiently. You'll understand that as we go along. So the first concept, the first thing on our list that we're going to do is we're going to talk about athletic performance. Here's some professional athletes that utilize chiropractic care. Jordan Spieth, Nota Begay, Sidney Crosby, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, and all NFL teams. All NFL teams have at least one chiropractor. A lot of them have two. As a matter of fact, most professional teams have chiropractors associated with them. Wade Boggs, Johnny Damon, Barry Bonds, Steve Carlton, Boston Red Sox. I'm from Boston. Boston Breakers professional women's soccer team has a team chiropractor. Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Evander Holyfield, Venus Williams. The list goes on and on. You can see I covered several sports here. Olympians use chiropractic. Nastia Lukin, Peekaboo Street, Allison Jones, Perdita Felician, Dan O'Brien, Marnie McBean, Dwight Stone, Nancy Lieberman, Jeff Hartwig, Dr. Terry Schroeder is a chiropractor. He's a former Olympian. He was then the head coach of the men's water polo team and took them to the Olympics and so forth. And one of the team members there was Merrill Moses. Team USA, the Olympians for the United States, utilizes chiropractors for all athletes. The training centers have dozens of chiropractors with them. And anytime a team travels to the Olympics, winter and summer, there's always dozens of chiropractors that are there for service. A couple of quotes. Over 90% of all world-class athletes use chiropractic care to increase their performance potential and prevent injuries. That is from Sean Atkins, an exercise physiologist. So we're going to add to our list here now athletic performance. That's the first thing on our list. Postural strength and coordination are essential for injury prevention and sports performance. There it is again. That's from Thomas Harris of the Sports Medicine Guide. He is a medical physician. So again, professional and elite and Olympic athletes have figured out my spine is critical to my performance. They don't wait for injury. They are under regular chiropractic care to increase their performance naturally. All right. The military uses chiropractic. U.S. Brigadier General Becky Halstead, she's been a soldier, if you will, to try to incorporate more chiropractic to more of the military bases and hospitals and so forth. And it is growing, which is great. Eric Kukkonen, Joseph Robert Heyer, and Joseph Heyer's chiropractor was Dr. Howard Watson, a former Navy SEAL, and he was the author of SEAL Team 6. So now you can see that elite military people understand the importance of regular chiropractic care. Stars that you know use chiropractic as well. Cindy Crawford, who also had her newborns checked. Christy Brinkley, Tony Robbins, Jerry Seinfeld, Mel Gibson, Anthony Field, Blue Wiggle. Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, William Shatner, Dan Aykroyd, Andy Griffith, Richard Gere, Sylvester Stallone, Whoopi Goldberg, Doris Day, Burt Reynolds, Phyllis Diller, Ted Danson, Kim Basinger, Cher, Linda Cohn, Steven Seagal, Demi Moore, Denzel Washington, and the list goes on and on. If you want to read about other prominent people, athletes, and stars, you can go to this website, yes2chiropractic.com. yes2chiropractic.com, and you'll see other people that utilize chiropractic. So other people that value that. Now, I want to move on to some of my patients. As the program goes along, I'm going to give you several patient stories. I want to share with you some people that have come to me and have seen such incredible, life-changing experiences with their chiropractic care. First off is Brian. Brian started having frequent migraine headaches when he was 9 years old. Now that's not normal. It's not normal to have migraines when you're 9. And of course, you tend to get a head scan at that point, which you should. And his scan was completely normal. They didn't know what to do with him. They gave him migraine medications, and they sent him home and said, have a nice life. His headaches were so bad, he missed 23 days of school in the 5th grade. Luckily, a friend of the family knows me, and they said, hey, try a chiropractor, try going to Dr. Fuller. They're like, okay, we don't know what else to do. Now, the important thing about Brian is he had no neck pain. He just had headaches. I did my orthopedic neurological examination. I poked my finger right here in his upper neck, found a really tender spot here. He said, ow, that hurts, and that makes my headache worse. So I started with chiropractic adjustments. Sure enough, in a handful of adjustments, migraine's gone, not to return, off medication, and that was at least 3 years ago. He's now under maintenance care. Another story, Bernadette. Bernadette comes to me in her 40s. She has scoliosis. Now, scoliosis only refers to the spine from the front. Your spine straight on should be ideally straight. Hers was buckled, and if it's buckled out of alignment enough, at least over 10 degrees, we call that scoliosis. Hers was 64 degrees out of alignment, and she already knew this. It was picked up when she was a child, but she didn't have surgery or anything like that. Sure enough, because her spine is so far out of alignment, she gets chronic pain, neck, middle, lower back pain. Pain is chronic enough, it's interfering with her day, interfering with her sleep, can't work out, can't enjoy vacations, can't enjoy her family. Sees my cable television show, comes in to see me. We work her for 6 months. We got her pain-free. She's now under maintenance chiropractic care. Once every 3 weeks, she comes in, and that was 5 years ago, and she's still coming. Now, her scoliosis is still 64 degrees. I couldn't change that, not when she's at that age, but we have optimized her health and function and quality of life. You're going to see that as a recurring theme here as we're moving forward. It's all about quality of life. Look what we did for her. Now, fortunately, she could have potentially the rest of her life with no more pain because she knows how to take care of her spine at home, something we talk about in my office and my shows and my videos. In conjunction with chiropractic care, I show you a bunch of stuff how to take care of your spine in conjunction with your chiropractic care and chiropractic adjustments. So, you're going to see more incredible stories as we move along. Regarding your own health, you could rely on our healthcare system in the United States because we have the best healthcare system. Not so fast. So, we call our healthcare system disease care or crisis care for the most part, with exceptions. We tend to intervene when somebody has a chronic disease or when somebody has an emergency. And in this country, we have a lot of heart disease, we have a lot of cancer, we have a lot of diabetes, we have a lot of Alzheimer's. These are the big four diseases that I talk about. These are the things that are going to bankrupt healthcare in the very near future, unfortunately, unless we make some drastic changes. And these are the things that could eventually not only bankrupt our medical care system, but it could bankrupt the entire country if we're not careful. Okay? Now, I single-handedly am not going to be able to change that unless you all make me the health czar. And I would absolutely like to take that job, and boy, I would have a panel of people that could help us. I already know the people that would be on that panel. That's probably not going to happen, but what we can do as individuals, you and I, and for your family and your neighbors and your friends and coworkers in your community and the people in your church, is you can help them become healthier. You can help yourself become healthier. You can take control of your own health instead of waiting for a disaster to come on. In most cases, that's preventable. And then that costs you a lot of money, and then you are in pain and you're suffering, and it costs you a lot of money, and then you go bankrupt, and so on and so forth. Let's try to avoid that. So we're going to talk about that now, too. Our medical care system, our crisis care system in our country costs us $4 trillion a year. Here we are in 2016 doing this program. Forbes estimated that in 2015 it was $4 trillion. Forbes also told us back in 2013, they said a lot of our healthcare dollars are spent for sugar. Their estimate is $1 trillion of our healthcare expenditures are just because of diseases related to sugar. Wow, that's a huge number. From all of that money that we spend, are we the best in the world? Not so fast. The World Health Organization says we are 37th in the world according to the healthcare system ranking. The UN says we're number 40th for life expectancy. According to other sources, we're the 17th in the happiness index. Now, I do have to say this. Our emergency care system, I give it an A. We are the best of the best for trauma, injury, emergency care. Our EMTs and paramedics and first responders and doctors and nurses and assistants, we're the best of the best. But when it comes to disease prevention, for all that money that we spend, I give us an F. We could be an A, but because we could be an A, I give us an F. And we need to change that. There are side effects. There are side effects according to our medical care system. There are side effects from entering the medical care system, and I don't want a medical bash here, but I just have to let you know what the numbers are. And the numbers are this. 100,000 people a year will die because they catch an infection in the hospital. They come in the hospital and they never come out. 100,000 people a year. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, 106,000 people a year die because they took, now follow me, watch this, follow me. A person takes the right drug for the right diagnosis in the right way. No one made a mistake. 106,000 people a year die from that. According to the Journal of Patient Safety, 440,000 people per year die because of medical mistakes. If you add that up, that's 646,000 people a year in the United States are dying because of medical care. That is easily the third leading cause of death, just behind heart disease and cancer. They're all right up in the top three. Things need to change. Many, many doctors have been saying this for a long time. And we are making some changes, but we're not working hard and fast enough. So again, the key is to keep yourself healthy, so hopefully, and I think most doctors, nurses, and hospitals will agree with me, so you don't get sick and enter the medical care system and may become a statistic like I'm mentioning here. One of the most serious medical situations we're facing right now is antibiotic resistance. Well, this is an article from 2009. The World Health Organization says antibiotic resistance is one of the leading public health threats on the planet. Overuse and misuse of antibiotics has led to mutations in once curable diseases. Now, Norway is the most infection-free country in the world, and the reason is Norwegians stopped taking so many antibiotics, okay? Now, compared to the United States, there's 11,000 MRSA deaths in the United States per year. That number is coming down. Japan, with its cutting-edge technology in modern hospitals, has 17,000 MRSA deaths per year. And in Norway, there's none, unless somebody comes into the country with it. And how do they do that? Well, we have shown in Norway that MRSA can be controlled and with not much effort, says this article. Norway's model is surprisingly straightforward. Doctors prescribe fewer antibiotics than any other country. Norwegians are casual about colds and coughs, toughing it out through low-grade fevers and infections. We don't throw antibiotics at every person with a fever. We tell them to hang on and wait and see. One medical center in Montana adopted the Norwegian protocols and cut MRSA by 89%. So by adopting those protocols, we can make a change. Here's another article regarding antibiotics. Antibiotics don't work for most sinus infections, study suggests, in 2012 by Deborah Kotz from the Boston Globe. Doctors routinely treat sinus infections with antibiotics, but a new study questions the wisdom of that practice because the drugs work no better than placebo at clearing up symptoms. The findings suggest that doctors may want to switch to monitoring patients with sinus infections instead of immediately giving them a prescription. Interesting. Here's another one. Antibiotics for treatment of acute respiratory tract infections. Decreasing benefit, increasing risk, and the irrelevance of antimicrobial resistance. Despite little microbiological reason that it helps, antibiotic prescribing for treatments of predominantly viral acute respiratory tract infections remain nearly as popular as ever. For acute bronchitis in adults, you know the ones that get the persistent cough and congestion that goes on for weeks in the winter and so forth, right, that we tend to go to the doctor for. The right antibiotic prescribing rate should be close to 0. Systematic reviews, pay attention to this now. Systematic reviews have found marginal to no benefit of antibiotics for treatment of the common cold, acute otitis media ear infections in children, maxillary sinusitis, sinus infections, sore throat, and acute bronchitis, chest colds. There is no symptomatic benefit of antibiotics for treatment of acute bronchitis or sinus infections. And evidence of the risks associated with antibiotic overuse continues to increase. That's important information that I think most people need. And I just want to touch on obesity, the obesity epidemic, just for a moment. Our CDC came up with some numbers for us. In 1960, about 10% of the country was obese. 30 years later, 1990, 15%. By 2013, that had jumped to 36%. And now we know 72%, 3 out of 4 adults in this country are either overweight or obese. 3 out of 4. That's not normal. And you cannot have a genetic epidemic, so genes don't explain that. Dr. John McDougall, a medical physician, he's just said this. I just picked this up over the weekend. 80% of the sickness in the world is due to food poisoning. Now, that doesn't mean that the foods are poisoned. That means that we're eating the wrong foods. And I would agree with Dr. McDougall with that. Regarding prevention, here's the Harvard School of Public Health coming out with this. If everyone in the U.S. could lead a healthy lifestyle, 80% of heart disease and diabetes could be avoided, as well as 70% of strokes and over 50% of all cases of all cancers. Harvard. To add on that, I just want to remind you regarding breast cancer now, inherited DNA defects only accounts for 5 to 10% of breast cancers, and the MD Anderson Cancer Center, that famous cancer center, also says the same thing. Only 5 to 10% of breast cancers are inherited. That means, this should be on the headlines every day, in my opinion. That means 90 to 95% of all breast cancers are preventable by doing good things with our bodies. That's what we're talking about here, right? Our Centers for Disease Control has said, our CDC has said, 75% of what we spend healthcare dollars on are for things that we could prevent. The things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. Okay. That's the bad news. Let's move on to the good news. We need a new way. Now again, I might not be the health czar, but communicating with you right now, you can change your life and your family and your children and grandchildren. And the people around you can influence them. And you can start discussing that with neighbors and friends and coworkers and start improving your health. And what I suggest is we have a new system of treating our bodies and our spine like we do our cars. Now, if you buy a brand new beautiful car and it's running great, you bring it in for a tune-up. There's nothing wrong. It's not making any noise. It's not broken. But you bring it in for a tune-up and an oil change and rotate the wheels and tires. You have a maintenance schedule that you follow to keep that at peak performance. It's just a car. It's metal and plastic. Who cares? This is way more important and extremely more valuable. Take the principles of car care and apply it to this. Our teeth. Look at the teeth regimen we have, right? You brush 3 times a day, you floss. You use water picks and electric toothbrushes. You're on this intensive exercise program for your teeth, right? And after that, you still go in for a cleaning, even though your teeth don't hurt in most cases, and you still need them professionally scraped. But you're on this rigorous maintenance, health and wellness schedule for your teeth. Perfect. Grab those philosophies, cars and teeth. By the way, you can always get new cars and new teeth, but you cannot get a new brain and a new spine. That's why I'm a chiropractor, and that's why I think we should adopt these new philosophies and apply it to our bodies, spines, and brains so we can have that better quality of life throughout our life. Doesn't everybody want that? Don't you want that? So, regarding the nutrition thing and the exercise thing and doing the right thing for your life, you already know clean nutrition and innate and healthy exercise is very important for you. So I say you move and fuel your body like Jack LaLanne. Now, if you don't know, Jack LaLanne, he lived to 96 years old. He passed away in 2011. And until he was 96 years old, you remember, if you saw him doing the juice commercials, he still had a great posture like this, okay? So he knew the importance of a tall, upright, strong spine to longevity and disease prevention. And he had a great workout regimen. Right up until he passed away, he was lifting weights every day and swimming every day. And some of you know him, he had a super clean diet. He never even ate the birthday cake on his birthday. I know, kind of boring, but he did have a great quality of life. No chronic disease, no pharmaceutical medications for anything, and he lived a great quality of life until age 96. Sign me up for that plan, right? So, move and fuel like Jack. The other thing about Jack LaLanne that you don't know is he was a chiropractor. So he got his chiropractic degree, but he never practiced chiropractic because his fitness career took off in the 50s and 60s and then for the rest of his life. But again, he always went to the chiropractor for chiropractic adjustments, and he had a great quality of life. So here we get into the things you don't know. Chiropractic. That's what we're going to spend the rest of the time on, and these are things you need to know. Chiropractic started on September 18th of 1895. 1895. Davenport, Iowa. Dr. D.D. Palmer worked on the first chiropractic patient, Harvey Lillard. This is very well documented. Harvey Lillard was straining himself, felt something move in his upper back, and became deaf in one ear. Dr. Palmer examined this area, found a bone stuck, glued, and stiff, adjusted that, and after a couple of adjustments, hearing was restored in the ear. The birth of chiropractic. So, is there an ear nerve here? No. Could we explain neurologically in 1895 how that worked, how a bone could be adjusted here and then hearing restored way up here out of the way? Nope, couldn't understand that. That's why we're quacks. That's why chiropractors were quacks. We couldn't explain what we were doing. And for the first 5 decades of chiropractic, we weren't treating people for neck pain and back pain for the most cases. We were working with people that had infectious diseases, visceral problems, mental disorders, and so forth, okay? But we couldn't explain it early on, so that's why we were practicing medicine without a license. We were quacks, we were ostracized, we were dangerous. Don't go to a chiropractor, right? And we were shunned, and forces were trying to destroy us early on. But you can see we made it. Now, we made it because a few things happened in history. The first one was the 1918 flu pandemic, a very deadly flu, and Gina Colada, who authored the book Flu, great book by the way, the estimates were 20 to 100 million people worldwide died from that flu, including 500,000 people in the United States. No one will ever know the exact number. Here's what one chiropractor stated, and this is well documented. Again, this is 1918, almost 100 years ago. I was about to go out of practice when the flu epidemic came, but when it was over, I was firmly established in practice. Why? The answer is simple. Chiropractors got fantastic results from influenza patients, while those under medical care died like flies all around. Here's some numbers that were recorded. In Davenport, Iowa, where chiropractic started, 50 medical doctors treated 4,900 cases with 274 deaths. 150 chiropractors treated 1,600 cases with only 1 death. In the state of Iowa, all told, 93,000 patients were treated medically with 6,000 deaths. That's 1 out of every 15. 4,700 patients treated by chiropractic lost only 6 people, 1 out of every 789. National figures. 1,100 chiropractors treated 46,000 people with the flu, with a loss of only 54 people, 1 out of every 886. Okay? In New York City, similar kinds of numbers. If you were under medical methods, 10,000 cases, you would see 950 deaths. 10,000 cases with drugless methods, including chiropractic, 25 deaths. Chiropractors in Oklahoma were brought in 233 cases where medical physicians had cared for the patients and they were finally given up as lost. The chiropractors saved almost all of them except for 25. Most chiropractors and their patients were miraculously spared, and we repeatedly hear about decisions many made to become a chiropractor after a remarkable recovery themselves, or when a close member given up for dead suddenly came back to vibrant health. So again, chiropractic probably would have gone away as a profession until the 1918 flu hit, and then it was firmly established. The first survival factor for chiropractic was the legal and legislative salvation. The fabulous success of chiropractic in combating the 1918 flu was the public relations breakthrough that was the second great survival factor. Very interesting, almost 100 years ago. Moving along to 1921, again almost 100 years ago, Dr. Henry Windsor. Oh, by the way, so let's add to our chart here. So we have athletic performance. Now we have immune system strength. That's the next thing that chiropractic may help you with. We can't make any promises, but people have seen their immune system get better, so there's another thing on our list here to take a look at. Dr. Henry Windsor, 1921, he did autopsies on 50 cadavers. The object was to determine any connection between minor curvatures of the spine and diseased organs. Spine-organ connection is what he's getting at here. 49 of the 50 cadavers that he studied had minor spinal curvatures. We call them, in chiropractic, we call those spinal misalignments. We call those spinal subluxations. Okay? But he's calling them, in 1921, minor curvatures. All the curves were rigid, apparently of long duration, and could not be moved by ordinary force. Other areas of the spine could when he was looking at this, but the ones that were curved and out of alignment didn't move. So he observed here, when he was looking at these situations, he observed thymus, lung, heart, stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, spleen, kidney, prostate, bladder, and uterus diseases. So he saw all of these organs with diseases in them. He traced those nerves back to the spine, and the levels of the spinal nerves correlated with a diseased organ. Let's take a look at that in our chart. So, on this poster that we have here, this shows us now what Dr. Windsor was studying in 1921. What he's saying is I found hundreds of diseased organs in here. And I started tracing these nerves back to the spine. Just in case you have a little more science, it wasn't the nerve directed back to it, it was the sympathetic nervous system levels. Okay, so the sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that controls blood flow, among other things. And what he did is for instance, if he traced the heart nerves back, he found that minor curvature area was here. If he traced the lungs back that were diseased, problems in the spine here. If he traced the stomach back, problems in the spine here. If he traced the gastrointestinal organs down here back to the spine, this area of the spine was messed up, and so forth. Organs up in here, back to the neck, and so forth. So he was tracing that connection. And as you can see with the numbers, there was nearly a 100% correlation between the part of the spine that was messed up and the associated organs through the sympathetic portion of the nervous system. His conclusions. Curvatures of the spine adversely affect the sympathetics. He's just saying, if the spine's out, the nerves are messed up. The sympathetics control blood supply to your guts, related to all visceral disease and pathology, and the ordinary diseases of adult life. He's just connecting it all. Let's add that to our list here, right? Organ health. What we're saying in chiropractic, has been talking about this, and this is how chiropractic started for the first 4 or 5 decades, is we started working on spines and making spines better, and then you had better nerve circuitry to the sympathetics, and the sympathetics quieted down, and blood flow improved, and blood flow is basically life to all of your tissues and organs. Visceral diseases can be traced back to the sympathetic levels of the spine involvement, nearly 100%. Prolonged abnormal spinal posture fires the sympathetics, causing reduced blood supply to organs, resulting in pathology, says Dr. Henry Windsor, MD, in 1921. Abnormal spinal curves precede organic visceral diseases. What does that mean? The spine gets messed up first, the organs get affected and diseased after. Sign me up for the better spine plan, right? Spinal disease precedes old age and causes old age. He says, if your spine is messed up, you get old faster. If your spine is messed up, you get old faster, and that impacts your organs. Stiff, distorted spines, spinal misalignment, spinal subluxations, cause sympathetic irritation, vascular spasm, and old age follows. A person is as old as his spine. Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Windsor, for that. Then, 1931. I love this little study. 1931. So this is a booklet from 1931. State Supervisor of Chiropractors of Kentucky wrote this up in connection with the Kentucky Houses of Reform. What this is back in 1930-31, 2 chiropractors worked on kids in a juvenile detention center in Kentucky for a little over a year, September 1930 to December 1931. They worked on 244 kids. And what this pamphlet is all the case histories of the 244 kids. I can just flip to any page and talk to you about the symptoms that the kids had. So, constant frontal headache, nervousness, conduct poor, leg ache and backache, gaining in weight, underweight, conduct bad, frequent urination, headache, pains in colon, pains in stomach, frequent urination, nocturnal enuresis, bedwetting, headache, rheumatism, pain in eyes, pain in neck, conduct poor, bad tonsils, bad cough, stomach trouble, constipation, and on it goes, conduct bad, eye pain, schoolwork very poor, mentally deficient, kidney trouble, and so forth. So they basically said, we're going to work on these kids and see what happens. So in here are all the results. Headache entirely relieved, aching in chest completely relieved, dismissed. Pains in chest almost entirely relieved, dismissed with all symptoms entirely relieved. Headache entirely relieved, all symptoms continue to improve. Continues to improve in all symptoms. Backache entirely relieved. Conduct improved, dismissed, and so on. Completely recovered. So when they wrote this up, they said, number of cases dismissed completely or recovered or greatly benefited. Out of 244, 155 fell into that. Only 89 still were receiving treatment. 144 kids were paroled. Catch this now. This is the final thing. This is why they presented the state of Kentucky this. Because 144 boys were paroled, caring for them for 1 year costs $43,000. Just one institution in one state in 1931. If you make that in today's dollars, that would be $631,000 saved by working on kids that are ages 10 to 20 in a juvenile detention center with a variety of mental and physical and organic problems that they have in their bodies. So then I imagine, what if we had all the kids in the country that are in a juvenile detention center under chiropractic care as part of their treatments and therapies and so forth? Or expand that a little bit further. What if we have all kids from 10 to 20 years old under chiropractic care, even if they're already healthy and well, just to see if we can improve their health and wellness, prevent problems, enhance their genetic potential and so forth. And I'm not saying that chiropractic has been shown to enhance genetic potential, but boy, isn't that evidence on our list starting to build that kind of leads us to those conclusions. So we can see that the brain and immune system is coming on board on our list here. Okay. A couple of my patients that I want to talk about along this line. Evan is brought to my office. He has nonverbal learning disorder, dyslexia, dyspraxia, chronic illness, headaches, and unable to run. We wanted to thank you for your role in helping Evan become a normal, healthy 11-year-old, says his parents when they wrote me this. Prior to seeing you, he was weak, chronically sick, suffered from emotional problems and learning disabilities. Pediatricians were unable to figure out why his immune system was not functioning properly, kept giving him antibiotics until he ended up in the hospital with serious stomach disease and so forth. The regular chiropractic adjustments and prescribed exercise, hints here now, along with a change in diet and nutritional supplements you have recommended have changed his life. He is now happy, confident, and well. The balance and coordination exercises have been so successful he can now juggle. The supplements seem to keep his immune system stronger, and the adjustments have cured, their words, not mine, everything from swimmer's ear to daily headaches. He had a successful high school career. He ended up doing wrestling and lacrosse. Remember, that was somebody that couldn't run. He joins the Army. Guess what division of the Army he gets into? Intelligence. I thought that was ironic. He goes from where he was to moving in that direction. That was Evan. Michael is brought to me with ADHD at age 7. Pediatrician recommended medication. Parents didn't want to do medication. They were searching for alternatives. He comes into my office. I did the chiropractic thing, the improved nutrition thing, the good supplement things, and coordination-based exercise thing. And the parents said, he did so well in such a short period of time, people thought he was on medication. He's doing great now, by the way. Successful high school career. He's now in college, doing great. Adding to our list, right? ADHD, learning disabilities, emotional issues, dyslexia, dyspraxia, NLD. I've worked with kids with autism and so forth. All of the learning and behavior disabilities. I've seen many, many cases improve with chiropractic care. Well, let's move on to really some cool stuff. How about chiropractic care for babies, for infants? Why would we do that? How important could it be? Great study. Forensic Science International is the journal. Here, why would we be an article on Forensic Science International? Hold on. Heart rate changes in response to mild mechanical irritation of the high cervical spinal cord in infants. Translation, neck is out of alignment, heart rate changes, linked to sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. So, infants to 1 to 12 months, chiropractic adjustments were done for asymmetries of posture, and I've seen kids brought into me like this in the baby carrier, right? They've been like this for a couple of months after birth. When do we want to take care of this? How about now? You know, it's easy to take care of with an infant too. Asymmetries in motion leading to cerebral disturbances, brain disturbances, of motor patterns of various etiologies, sensoromotoric disturbances, sensations, motor, sensory, colic, hyperactivity, sleeplessness, and the list goes on. So they interjected chiropractic on all of these kids. Chiropractic was the most successful therapy for all of these conditions. 20,000 chiropractic adjustments done in this study without serious complications. That's a huge number. Children with disturbed symmetry of the upper neck could be at a higher risk of sudden infant death syndrome. That was the conclusion of this study. Do I even need to go further? I'm going to put SIDS on the list here. Now, I'm not saying that chiropractic treats that and prevents that, but boy, That article, that research with 20,000 adjustments and their awesome conclusions is suggesting you should get these things checked early on in your lives. Earlier, we talked about bedwetting. An article from Dear Abby, back in 1992, the columnist, Dear Abby, I brought my 15-year-old twin sons that were daily bedwetters to a chiropractor. Within a month, both boys were completely cured. Dear Abby responds, I have several hundred letters bearing the same message concerning chiropractors. Some will criticize me for giving what sounds like a commercial for chiropractors, but I would be less than honest if I did not publish your letter. Let's add bedwetting to the list of things that chiropractic may help people with. And I have personally had kids in my office get better with bedwetting. Ear infections. Big reason why lots of kids are brought to chiropractors, and including in my office. Is there any research, not only anecdotal and case studies, is there research? Yes, there is. Good study by Dr. Joan Fallon, a chiropractor. Thank you, Dr. Fallon, for doing this study back in 1997. She had 332 kids with ear infections. The number of adjustments to help resolve a child with an acute ear infection was 4 adjustments. For chronic ear infections, only 5 adjustments. Number of days to normalize the otoscopic examinations. For acute ear infection kids, 7 days. For chronic, 8.5 days. Not long. Days to normalize the tympanographic examination, even more scientific, if you will. Acute kids, 8 days to see that normalize. Chronic kids, 10 days to get it normalized. And then recurrence rate. So the kids got their adjustments and so forth. How many of them had more infections? 6 months later, acute kids, 11% had more. Chronic kids had 16% recurrence rate, not much. A lot of them did not have recurrence. And none present at all, 17%. Great study. How does that translate into my chiropractic office? Well, Darlene comes to me. She is a year old. She has 20 ear infections in 1 year. 20. We basically have had a sick child and sick parents for a year. The pediatrician said, your child's heading towards tubes. I don't like to do tubes if at all possible. I know this weirdo chiropractor that works on kids with ear infections. The pediatrician did a great job. She said, I don't know how it works, but you might want to look into that. And the parent said, okay, kind of like try anything at this point. They bring in Darlene, a half a dozen chiropractic treatments later, ear infections gone, not to return. That was almost 20 years ago. Haley is brought to me. Haley's brought to me with 15 ear infections in 1 year. Same thing, always sick, parents up all the time, don't know what to do. Brought into me, half a dozen chiropractic adjustments later. She only had 1 ear infection after that, and she blamed it on me. She said because I was out of town and I wasn't working on her, that you got 1 more ear infection. But no more since then. And now she's graduating college. And her, just like all of my kids that have started with chiropractic early on in their lives, when they go away to school, when they come back on break, they come in for their maintenance tune-up chiropractic adjustments. They don't think anything of it. They grew up with chiropractic. They're like, you brush your teeth and you go to the chiropractor. It's just normal for them. What a beautiful thing. And everybody's so happy. Caitlin, such a great story. I'm going to tell you about Caitlin. Asthma, allergies. Oh, so we're adding ear infections to our list now too, right? Ear infections, okay? Asthma, allergies, and eczema. The parents brought 10-year-old Caitlin for chiropractic referred by another chiropractor. Dr. Dana McPhee sent her in. Severe asthma since age 2.5, multiple allergies and eczema. Had taken many drugs, 2 chiropractic adjustments. Her lung capacity improved from 220 to 280 milliliters, a nice objective finding. 1 month later, increased to 325 milliliters. Her skin improved after reducing dairy product intake. There's another hint for you. 5 months of care, her updated pulmonary tests at Children's Hospital were better than ever. After 8 months of care, she was able to eliminate the 16 pills a day she was taking as a 10-year-old. That's impressive. What has happened to Katie's asthma is nothing short of a miracle, said Mom. Our list: asthma, allergies. Eczema is more of the dairy product thing, but that's still something important to know. other studies about chiropractic for children. Another safety study, 781 kids, 5,200 chiropractic adjustments over 2 years, no serious adverse effects. Big study. Nursing dysfunction, children having trouble latching and breastfeeding. 114 infants studied, 78% able to exclusively breastfeed in 2 weeks after just 2 to 5 chiropractic adjustments. Colic, 43 infants under 8 weeks, 2 weeks of chiropractic, the infants cried significantly less and slept more on that in a second. Long-term chiropractic, kids were separated into 2 groups, one with chiropractic, one without. 117 received chiropractic, 111 without. The kids with chiropractic care, twice as likely not to experience long-term colic sequelae. And that brings you to someone in my office. Just recently, in 2016, a 5-month-old brought to me with terrible reflux, already on medication twice a day. Parents took him off of breastfeeding, moved to low allergy formulas, nothing's working, brought him to me, 6 chiropractic adjustments later, reflux gone. Awesome. Does it work in every case? No, but boy, aren't they happy. Now we're going to move into pain. So back at our list, look at our building list now, our building list. Now we can add reflux to that, including the ear infections and colic and long-term colic and everything else. Now we move into the thing that most of us are familiar with. Chiropractors are good with neck pain, back pain, headaches, migraines, arm pain, leg pain, and all that kind of thing. We even work on people with shoulder issues, elbow trouble, carpal tunnel and wrist trouble, hips, knees, ankles. Some doctors work on this, some don't. Sometimes we see that they're spinal related anyways. So chiropractic and pain. Is there research that shows chiropractic is good for pain things? You betcha. Out of the journal Lancet, 741 low back pain patients were studied. There was a strong, clear advantage for the chiropractic patients over hospital care, and these improvements were sustained over not only 6 weeks, but then a year, and then 2 years, and then 3 years, and the improvements were best for people that had chronic low back pain. Speaking of that, great study, chiropractic was in one group, drugs in a second group, acupuncture in a third group. After 9 weeks of care, in the drug group, 5% of people improved. In the acupuncture group, 9.4% of the people improved. In the chiropractic group, 27% of people were pain-free. 9 weeks, chronic low back pain. Adverse effects, only the drug group had adverse effects at 6%. Improvements in general health status, not only people were saying my pain is better, but my entire life is better. Drug group, 18% said my entire life is better. Acupuncture group, 15%. 47% of people under chiropractic care for chronic low back pain said lots of things in my life have improved. And not only that, there was a follow-up study 1 year later that said only the people in the chiropractic group had 5 out of 7 outcome measures remain better, where the other groups only had 1 that remained better. 5 out of 7. 1 year later. So you're seeing short-term excellent relief of chronic low back pain. You're now seeing long-term sustained relief of chronic low back pain. We'll add low back pain to our list here now. Low back pain, chronic and acute low back pain for that. Then there was a study for acute low back pain. Somebody gets a crick in their back for a day or 2 or whatever, and they need to do something. Chiropractic versus the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug diclofenac. Conclusion, chiropractic adjustments were significantly better than the drug group, and there was also a placebo group, and chiropractic was much better than that as well for acute low back pain. Here's another conclusion. They took a group of people and they divided them up into 3, and they said, here's a group that's going to receive a fake chiropractic adjustment. Here's one that's going to receive just adjustments for a month and then no more. And then here's a group that's going to receive twice a month chiropractic adjustments for 9 months. And let's look at all 3 in 9 months. And sure enough, the maintenance group had less pain, less disability, which is suggesting, the research said, is long-term chiropractic care seems to give us benefit. Chiropractic and high blood pressure, let's add that to the list. Here's 2 awesome studies on chiropractic and high blood pressure. 2007, Dr. Timothy Johnson reported about this on television. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Misalignments of the atlas bone up here are associated with high blood pressure. Pretty amazing. Chiropractic adjustments reduced the systolic by 17 and diastolic by 10 over 8 weeks of care, and that was equal to the typical 2-drug therapy for high blood pressure. So just in 8 weeks of chiropractic care here, blood pressure went down as good as the 2 drugs. Another great study on that was chiropractic adjusting in this area of the spine, just the upper back. And by the way, these were not manual adjustments. These were only light hand force, and this one up here was only instrument, light force chiropractic. Only 1 adjustment done now. They had a control group, nothing. They had a placebo group, fake chiropractic adjustments, and then the real chiropractic adjusting group. 1 adjustment, retake blood pressure. Systolic and diastolic blood pressure went down, pulse rate went down, and blood pressure classification decreased significantly. Who knew? Back to our chart over there is that those nerves are connected to the heart, blood flow, sympathetics, blood flow everywhere gets better. One of the things that we do in chiropractic offices is we evaluate the curve in your neck, and we'll take x-rays, and if your curve is straight or your curve is reversed, we do work to make that better. Makes sense. One research article says less curve you have, the more chance you have of having neck pain, and if your neck is straight, you have an 18 times greater chance of neck pain. And then of course, you know, that's correlated with text neck, right? So text neck. And we have shown that this is a 13-pound bowling ball, and if you go forward 15, 30, 45, if you go forward 60 degrees, this looks pretty common, doesn't it? Okay, 60 degrees like this, that's serious because now that's 60 pounds of pressure, irritation, misalignment on your neck discs, joints, ligaments, and so forth. Text neck is serious. We all know that. Leanne comes to my office. Leanne, great story. She comes in, she has back pain and leg pain, reluctant to go into the chiropractor like a lot of people are, but she was dragged in by somebody else. A couple of weeks into care, low back pain and leg pain's getting better, and then she says, "Hey, Dr. Fuller, you've been helping me so much. Do you have anything for my allergies? I have year-round allergies. I'm taking 2 medications. I'm miserable." I said, "Sure, no problem." I said, "No dairy products for 1 month and see what happens." She said, "Okay, never heard that before. I'm going to do that." She does that. Her allergies are completely gone, off the medication. She is one happy patient, and boy, does she refer people into my office. So we're adding these things. Now we're adding neck pain to our list here too, right? Chronic and acute neck pain. Chronic back pain in your brain, quickly now, if you have chronic low back pain, it literally shrinks the size of your brain up to 11%. Just chronic low back pain. The longer you have low back pain, if you don't take care of it, the entire size of your brain can shrink up to 11%. Now you know that that's reversible, but you got to take care of your low back. And as I have told you that chiropractic has shown to be one of the most effective treatments for acute and chronic low back pain. So get that straightened out and make sure your brain doesn't shrink. Pretty important issue here. Poor posture predicts mortality. The more you slouch, the faster your chance of death. That's what this next study shows. You have a 144% chance of mortality if your posture is like this. Such an important reason that your spine is your life. Your posture is a reflection of your spine on the inside. You have to take care of this. Let's take a look at this chart. So this is what I mean here. When you look at this chart, we want you here. We want you like Jack LaLanne right here. Our object, the reason I am a chiropractor, is to take care of your spine, which helps your brain and helps your immune system, and that's incredibly important. In addition, we want to make sure that your posture stays like this as best we possibly can throughout your life so you don't end up like that. You see? Now, it's never too late. Do I help people here? Sure. Am I ever going to get them back that way? No. But I might give them some relief. The point, though, is prevention, prevention, prevention. Keep us like this as long as we can. And we just talked about that helps you live longer, okay? As we talked about, that helps your spine and nervous system and all of your organs. How critical is that? That's the whole point of chiropractic. So when you come to my office and we start engaging in chiropractic here, we give you options. We try to tell you what we want to do is look at your spine, do the examination, orthopedic neurological checks, and so forth, and make sure that we get your spine to as near normal as possible. Whether you decide to do something short-term or hopefully long-term, and I believe the beauty of chiropractic really comes in making the chiropractic adjustments, analyzing your spinal misalignments and posture by x-ray, by posture, by range of motion, all these things that we do in the office, reducing those misalignments and subluxations, making your posture be as good as possible in conjunction with things that you can do at home, and then hopefully you'll decide, this is so important for me, just like the sick kids on the things that we had talked about. Just like we talked about that it affects even the last thing on our list, the brain size and blood flow to the brain, that you'll engage with maintenance chiropractic care. I think the best thing that chiropractic can offer for people is maintenance chiropractic care. One of my patients, Gail, she says never give up because it took her 3 years. Now she's 70 years old. You'd think she's 50. It took her 3 years to get from severe back pain to no back pain at all, back to a happy back. My patient, Heather, says it changed my life. She was in her 40s, already with chronic neck pain. She says, it's disturbing all kinds of things in my life. I can't read. I can't enjoy my kids. I can't enjoy vacation. 3 months of chiropractic care, she's in great shape, and now she's on the maintenance and wellness care. And my patient, John, great testimonies. You can read them all about them on my website. My patient, John, came in. He used to be in music, rock and roll bass player. He had to give it up. I have chronic low back pain from just playing so many years. I can't do it. So he was in school, but he couldn't sit in school because he was trying to go for another career. Somebody in the classroom was a patient of mine. She said, you need to go to my chiropractor. He gave it one last try. It took us 2 years to get his back pain in shape, but he never gave up. He didn't stop because month after month he got better. So the point is never stop. Continue, move forward. And if you give chiropractic care a try, you can see what we can do for babies, for young children, for adults, for the elderly, and then hopefully you'll do the wellness and maintenance chiropractic care. I think that's the best thing that you can do. That is the best opportunity for your ideal health and wellness, quality of life, and length of life. I'm Dr. Scott Fuller. Please join me again.